With the opening of the Project Pride, we invite you to travel together with us through cities and countries of the world to meet Kazakhstan people there, learn more about their life. We will go on a visit, we will plunge into their work, we will walk to their favorite corners of the cities they live in. But the main thing is that we set out on a journey to be inspired by their success. After all, the heroes of our program are bright and interesting people, and every story, every acquaintance is a swirl of impressions.
The Russian proverb says, "East or west, home is best," and often it turns out to be true. But there is another proverb that says, "Acorn was good till bread was found." Our heroes are those whose nature does not allow them to sit still and be satisfied with what they have. These are kind of people who always need more. And in this quest, sometimes amazing stories are born, and with them, an unusual fates, which eventually become for someone an example, an inspiration, and for others a beautiful parable. What is the hero of our program like? Every Cinderella has her own story. Many girls aspire to know which shoe to try on, and at what point in time, and only the most sincere and open wait for their princes till they come into their lives. The story of our program is a story of love and inspiration. Perhaps this is how it resembles the plot of a fairy tale. So here she is, Mariya Schegolikhina, writer and art critic. She was born and raised in Karaganda, the daughter of the famous Kazakh artist Sergei Shegolikhin. The future writer spent her youth here in Karaganda, among the landscapes of central Kazakhstan and surrounded with her father's paintings. In the same city, Mariya received a law degree after graduating from high school, and during the university years, Mariya met a man who became the key figure in her fate, her future husband, Mikhail Tsebua. In 2011, the story takes a turn and the young family moves to the homeland of Mikhail to Georgia. Later, it turned out that Tbilisi was the real source of inspiration for the girl, giving impetus to her creativity. New impressions in combination with a subtle, not indifferent, beautiful nature, apparently inherited by Mariya from her father, gave her amazing results. The girl discovered a talent for writing, and soon her first book, Gaumarjos, was released. It contained her impressions of Georgia, her first acquaintance with this country, its spirit, the influence on the author, and her connection with Kazakhstan, albeit unobvious at first glance. Mariya has been living in Georgia for 6 years at the moment of our acquaintance. Georgia, what are you? A kaleidoscope of endless emotions, uncontrollably gay, specifically spicy, fantastically hospitable, savory tasty, with many voices, unforgettably traditional, cozy and sunny, passionately loving, infinitely mysterious. This list can be continued indefinitely. Arriving to Georgia, I want to breathe it all at once. This place is one of my favorite places because here you can feel a certain atmosphere. It's just fine to sit here on the square and watch what's happening down there, in old Tbilisi. There has been said so many things about the exotic beauty of old Tbilisi. The history of the founding of the city, as it should be, is described by a beautiful legend. Bakhtan Gurgasali and his entourage came to the city because of the royal hunt. During the chase after the wounded deer, the hunters saw an incredible sight. A hurt animal plunged into the waters of hot springs and immediately was healed and fled. And the governor, as surprised and delighted as he was, ordered the city, which was named Tbilisi, to be laid on the source site, from the word Tbili, which means warm. It was he, the founder of the city of Akhtank, who gazed at his child in the heights of the Metehi hill. Old Tbilisi is here. Everything is preserved. The whole infrastructure is preserved, restored perfectly. Look over there and imagine how people lived here before and endeavored on their pilgrimage. So the Georgian history of Karaganda girl Mariya began. Surprisingly, just stepping on the Asian land, Mariya realized that she would succeed and everything would be okay. Our destinies are said to be written in heaven, and no one knows when and where happiness, conceived even in children's dreams, is destined for realization. However, whatever we think and whatever we plan, often turns out that all of our possible life scenarios were written in advance. We could not avoid being traced, and fate leads us through different paths, but to the result that was, as they say, sort of written in heaven. For example, in order to meet her charmed prince, Masha did not have to make any effort. Misha himself was brought to Karaganda by high powers.
Мой муж грузин, и он приехал в Караганду по работе.
My husband is Georgian. He came to Karaganda for work, and one day we were brought together for the same place, for the same time, in just a half hour. And so we met and fell in love. While I was a student, he waited for me to graduate, finish my studies in Karaganda. And then we thought, where can we go? We both like to travel, and we thought, why not take a chance and start our life in his homeland? Here it is, inspiration, the ground for creativity, and the joyful feeling that everything that was dreamed of is coming true. Everything turns out as you want it, and there are no barriers ahead. Isn't this happiness? The love story of Mariya became her driving force, and the new country gave her ideas for work and inspiration. What does make people choose this country or another for traveling? Some people are in search of modern resort, others like to travel in groups with other tourists, or something else. I know that I was searching for myself. Paustovsky said, the writer should write only when thoughts are pouring out of him. Do you agree with this? I agree. It happened to me. The book was written when I could not help but write. Even in the middle of the night, I get up and wrote. In general, the idea of writing a book came here in Georgia, and after I moved here to Tbilisi, I started to work, plus my father is an artist of Kazakhstan, Mariya Schegolikhina, and I decided to hold his exhibition here. By the way, there is a museum in Sion, next to the Temple of Sion, the Museum of Kavasla, the National Museum of Georgia. We held the exhibition there. And after I arranged the exhibition, I decided to study art in St. Petersburg. There in St. Petersburg, Mariya went to the tour of the Tbilisi Griboyedov Drama Theater. The young woman not only enjoyed the play, she was fired up to write a review of the play. No sooner said than done. The text of the review was written, as they say, while the memories were fresh, and sent to the Tbilisi magazine Russian Club. And soon, more than the aspirations of the author of the review, it was published on the pages of the publication. The first text, the first attempt, and immediately she found success. It's like a creative well was opened, and even now I get goosebumps. It was so unexpected when I got a call and they said, yes, you are published. Well, it went on like an ironic Kazakh joke. What I look at, I sing about it. Mariya began to write about what was happening in her life, the now beaten path of creating a blog so that to describe each step, outfit, and the dish she have tasted, this option was not for her. Mariya, or Marie as they call her in Georgia, began to write down her impressions of what she found important. And again, when she tried to get into the press, everything turned out all right, of course. The story of her beautiful wedding in Georgia landed on the pages of the famous Kazakh magazine about the wedding industry as soon as she sent the text there.
И таким образом я писала какие-то отрывочки, и однажды вот.
And so I wrote some snippets, and one day the idea came. Maybe I will collect my impressions about Georgia in my own book, and then we will see what happens. And it was a success again? Yes, it was supported by the most important person in my life, my husband. Of course you can, he said, and this book was written during 1 year. Only an artist with a brush in his hands manages to capture the fleeing rays of the sun and the shadows of clouds, From the ground, we look at everything differently. Human life is often compared to a book, and it is justified. We write this book during our lifetime. Someone gets a fascinating novel, someone has a monumental saga, someone lives in the genre of an easy story, and someone lives all his life in the genre of the play, as if on stage. Marie probably always loved fairy tales, yes, certainly with bright illustrations. Illustrations, or rather paintings, have become another key point in her story. The exhibition of Mariya Schegolikhina in the center of Tbilisi is still remembered by the colleagues of Marie in the National Gallery of Karvasla, where she entered during the years of studying for an art critic. What was it like? Were you worried? Yes, my first exhibition, and plus it was my internship, my first official internship. For my second education, I had to arrange an international exhibition. And since I was here, I did not have the option to arrange it somewhere else. I had to go to an agreement, so I called to the National Museum of Georgia. I passed pre-internship there in the museum, and I managed to agree with the curator of the gallery. Was it difficult to negotiate? No, it was not difficult. On the contrary, they were very interested in me. Well, here I was holding my first exhibition. Is this a cultural center? Yes, there used to be a caravan barn in ancient times, and now it's the National Museum of Georgia. It's called Karvasla. Here I brought my father's paintings. Very beautiful building. Yes, indeed. And in the evening, it's just amazing, especially the light of these lamps. And how did the Georgians welcome the exhibition? It was so beautiful there. Here there was a buffet table, there were bar sacks on the table, my mother made them, and the embassy was invited. Here are my girls, let's say hi. This is Lika Mamatashvili. She was the curator, the organizer of the exhibition, and in general, she is the queen of this museum. How are you? Okay. I'm busy with the book. It's released now. I'm promoting it. I would like to turn my book into a film. If I find the producer, it will happen. I want to introduce my Georgia to people back home. We too are very happy. Lika, you don't change. You don't change at all. See you. There was an exhibition in this room. Here in the center was a painting. The painting called My Kazakhstan. We brought it from Kazakhstan. A big one, 2 by 1.5 meters. It is a monumental painting. Honored work of culture of our country, Mariya Schegolikhina, a Kazakh painter, comes from Karaganda, corresponding member of the Academy of Arts of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Schegolikhina belongs to that generation of Kazakhstani artists who are trying to capture the elusive, the streets and yards of our rapidly changing, growing cities, the beloved corners of Karaganda and Almaty, the elusive shape and spirit of what, on the one hand, cannot be returned and retained, and on the other, from the memory of true Kazakhstani people, cannot be erased. Not for nothing that plain art, painting, is called the most honest painting. Canvas is created by fresh impressions, like the artist's naked soul. Memorable places, landscapes, the view of the painter is surprisingly easy and accurately identifies and adds to the album of memory the most exhilarating sketches of urban architecture. Then he transfers them to the canvas and makes the audience's heart tremble.
О художниках нашла вот такой момент.
Кстати, моему папе восхищается. В Грузию слетаются истинные ценители красоты.
I found such a moment in your book. By the way, it is dedicated to my father. In Georgia, there are true connoisseurs of beauty. Artists, again and again, they create a series of paintings through the eyes of the traveler, which is especially valuable because their look is fresh and susceptible to novelty. So like jewelers stringing pearls on a string, artists create a necklace from canvases dedicated to Georgia.
рисовать в этом в мастерской, сидеть долго.
My dad draws etudes he adores to catch the moment, to catch emotions, to catch the light and create masterpiece. Here it is, exactly him. He can sit in the workshop, sit for a long time, thinking about creating serious monumental works. But his signature are the etudes. Etudes, it's a breath of air. So he saw the light and literally in an hour he painted a picture. In this, there is a special pleasure when you manage to catch this wave here, an inspiration, and you have time to capture it either in lines or in picture or in a song.
Либо песня это может быть.
Speaking of Schegolikhina's creative family, it would be unfair to ignore Masha's mother. Being very active by nature and a savvy traveler, Mariya Schegolikhina discovered the charm of observations with a camera in her hands. Agatha Christie, I remember, used to say that life on a journey is a dream in its pure form. And it seems that the family of Schegolikhins in full force subscribes to this phrase. After all, a solid part of the memories and impressions in this family are made in travel. Georgia is 300 sunny days a year, proud mountains, a gentle sea, and ancient history. Georgian cuisine many times has been mentioned in poetry and prose. It is flavored and diverse, and the healing springs of this country give strength and relieve illness. But the most important asset of this region is certainly people, sincere, generous, funny, and just like our new Georgian, very artistic and creative. Traveling in Georgia is an undeniable pleasure. Do you want to go for a ride in the picturesque Georgian province, to see the ancient temples, to admire the young grapes, to participate in the real Georgian feast? Come with us. Mtskheta is a sacred place. It attracts both Georgians and those who come here from afar. The ancient capital of Georgia is located not far from the present, and the first obligatory point to visit is the ancient temple of Jvari. It stands on the mountain near Mtskheta, and its name translates as a cross. The legend, which the history of Georgia is literally full of, says that it was here that the cross was established from the grape Roses Tsmida Nino, or Nino Kanadiyskaya, which is revered as the mother baptizer of all Georgia. Therefore, the cross that decorates the Jvari temple looks slightly curved, as if it is, like the first one, was made from a vine and marked the adoption of Christianity by Georgia. Later, a temple was built and called the Church of the Holy Cross.
В это легендарное место меня привез муж впервые.
This is a legendary place. My husband brought me here for the first time. I was struck by the sight. I did not expect that here is the most legendary place, Lermontov wrote in the poem Siri, where the rivers Aragva and Kura merge. Yes, that's right. Now we'll see this. Here is Aragva and here is Kura. Look, I recognize this place in your father's painting. Yes, it was here that he made that painting. If I'm not mistaken, this is the ancient capital of Georgia. Yes, this is the city of Mtskheta, and inside there is a Sveti temple. But at the moment, it's not a sameba, but before the sameba, it was a temple. Surely there are a couple of words in the book about this. The temple, what do you feel when you say this word? The sensation of some kind, of loftiness, as if you filled with light from within. The ancient capital of Mtsheta is a revered place in Georgia as a shrine. This town is located 20 kilometers from Tbilisi and is object of worship. There are so many shrines that Mtsheta is often called the second Jerusalem. The epicenter of this attraction, no doubt, is Svятославский Cathedral, which attracts pilgrims, tourists, and simply idle walkers. The legend is about the inhabitant of Mtsheta, Eloise, and the chiton of Jesus Christ. The shrine was obtained by Eloise during the pilgrimage to Jerusalem, and soon Eloise's own sister died when she touched a mystical object. The deceased was buried wrapped in a chiton, and, oh miracle, soon a large tree rose on the grave of Sidonia, Lebanese cedar. And when King Miriam decided to build a temple in the place where the chiton of the Lord is buried, the cedar was cut down and 7 columns were made from it. 6 of them were installed without difficulty, and a 7th, according to an old legend, hung in the air. And only after the zealous prayers of the same holy Nino, the pillar not only took its place without a touch of the human hand, but also started to mend. A miracle cured patients of serious diseases. Hence the name Svятославский, which in Georgian means life-creating pillar. One can talk and argue for a long time about generous beauty and the wise wisdom of the Georgian land. Everything here is imbued with some special philosophy. On the one hand, temperament, fire, nosy conversation as flashes of hands. On the other hand, calmness, lack of fuss, and unshakable confidence that everything will be fine. But there is something else without which it is impossible to imagine Georgian culture: food. Gaumarjoba. It is in general the Georgian weakness, the national Georgian sweetness, churchela. A table for a Georgian is a cult, and pleasure, and pride, and tradition. National dishes are a whole world. Trying it and letting it in, you penetrate the character of the person who cooked it. You feel the edge of nationality and a specific corner of the country. Spices tell us how sweet or witty, fragrant or fresh, tender or harsh, with or without a flavor, a cook in whose hand prepared the dish.
Aba, batunebo.
Mshvidobas, mjamtelobas, tatslis musavals.
Gaumarjos.
Gaumarjos.
Это переводится.
This translates as follows: for peace, health, and harvest. Everything should be together. These are 3 brothers: peace, health, and the harvest of the year. Separately, they are not needed by anyone. If you do not have peace, why do you need harvest? Why do you need health? For complete happiness, one won't be enough. But when all 3 come together, everything falls in its place. Gaumarjoba. Here in Kakheti, on the site where the family's graves are already ready to pop, which probably the children and grandchildren of Mikhail and Mary will one day call a family estate, we enjoyed the hot Kakhetian bread just from the oven. Here we have tasted the village cuisine, and it's hard to imagine more delicious food than this: home wine, which every Georgian prepares on his own. And here we recalled another fertile and generous land, Kazakhstan. From what does our life consist of? From events, fragments of thoughts, changing emotions, phrases, faces, tastes, sounds, laughter, tears, memories, and music. A whole kaleidoscope. But the miracle is that if you want, you can customize the picture however you want.
Слушай, я вот начала читать книгу твою. Есть такие моменты, прямо дергают.
Listen, I've read your book. There are touching moments there. The connection with the homeland is like an umbilical cord, which is never cut off. And if suddenly you realize that the soul is exhausted, it needs recharge, without hesitation, you must go to your homeland. There, you will fully be filled with energy of the relatives who remain there, the energy of childhood friends. For them, you're still the same brave tomboy girl. And then back again.
Родина как мама. Она любит тебя, и поэтому, наполнив силами, отпускает к покорению новых.
Homeland, like a mother, she loves you, and therefore, with new strength, she sends you for a conquest of new peaks. Well, it happened in my life. In what state did you write this? Well, periodically there is such a state when you need some nurturing, you need some care, and you go to your homeland. About a year ago, or about a year and a half ago, or rather for the new year in 2015, I went to Kazakhstan. I met my old friends and told them what I do. When I came back to Georgia, my new house, I sat down again to write a book. I saw it with my husband. He experienced it the same thing when we lived in Kazakhstan. He had to go back home to get new strength, to return and do business further. In whatever country you live, you will definitely come to Kazakhstan and Georgia.
Это я так шутливо называю тестом на ностальгию. Я тебе сейчас покажу пару картинок.
As a joke, I call the test for nostalgia. I'll show you a couple of pictures now. I'm wondering what kind of associations you will have. What do you think about this? Well, it's a leopard. I saw the leopard. Everything is unmistakable. You still have some Kazakh zest in you. It is my homeland. This is a baby cradle. I will not say the exact name, Besek. It's an amusing, made of wood, and you can rock baby in this cradle. A Kazakh baby's cradle. I've seen something very similar in old halls in Tbilisi. It's exactly the same. When I was in the Vedic Museum, there is one there, and those houses have been preserved since antiquity. And there are children's rooms there. They're exactly the same. And you don't think that it might have been the same Kipchaks 40,000 years ago? Maybe something brought them here. I don't exclude that version. It might have been them. They look exactly the same. What do you think about this picture? It's a golden man. That's right. Still, you remember a lot from your Kazakhstan life. Alia, what do you mean? It's not like a perfume, it's in my blood. You remain a Kazakhstani wherever you might be. What's this? It's a kobus. I never played it, but I like stringed instruments. You know what the musicologists say about it? The cello, which is the closest relative, during its history changed its appearance many times and improved, and the kobus was born completely authentic and did not change a bit. At last, one picture I shall show. And we're done. You're not from Almaty, but I think that you'll recognize this symbol. I'll tell you now. It's on Koktube. That's right. I don't know what the symbol of Karaganda is, but many Almaty people call it, in Karaganda, a miner. If you showed me a miner with a raised stone in his hands, I would have guessed right away that this is Karaganda, the mining capital. This is happiness, when the most insane ideas can come to life, if only they're supported by a loved one. But the exact opposite can happen. If you start criticizing the idea, it immediately dies, not having time to be born. Be careful with criticism of your loved ones, please.
А ты мне какой
На
песню
речке, на том бережочке, мила Марусенька, белые ножки. Мила Марусенька, белые ножки, одели ауранина.
Это первый его был шедевр.
Ну, то есть вы друг друга поддерживаете во всем, получается, да?
Обязательно, обязательно. Во всех авантюрах, во всех начинаниях.
You support each other in everything. Of course, in all adventures and all endeavors, we're always together. We support each other because we're husband and wife. It seems that the fairy tale of Cinderella has come true again for a girl with a sincere heart, good thoughts, and a steadfast faith in love and justice. Mariya Schegolikhina became Mariya Tsibua, and the beautiful story of her life only begins. Life is a story that is being written right now. Reading the lines, you are moving on. The journey begins in our minds. The risk to start it in reality or stay in one place, it's up to you. In any case, Galmar Joba.